I have a question, a favorite question, that I like to ask business people. And at this point, I have asked it of all kinds of business people all around the world, from a guy who runs a 3-person brokerage office in South Dakota to the CEOs of the most valuable companies on the planet. It's a simple question. If there were a couple of us sitting here instead of a few hundred, I would ask you. But I would invite you to think about it in any case. It's not a trick question, open-ended question. It's this. What is the source of your operation's competitive advantage? Whether your operation is an office or a territory or a whole company, whatever it is, what is the source of your operation's competitive advantage? Now, I don't know for sure what you would say, but I can make a pretty good guess because I can tell you that I've asked it of lots of people, and they all say the same thing. They all put their head back and think about it a little, and then they say, it's our people, our relationships, our culture. And what's interesting is what nobody says. Nobody has ever said to me, the source of our competitive advantage is our economies of scale. Even huge companies that have fabulous economies of scale. Nobody has ever said it's our patents. Even very technologically advanced companies that have very valuable patents, they all say the same thing. Our people, our relationships, our culture. Now, that's interesting, but it only tells you so much. Because, after all, if everybody says it, and everybody does say it, then it doesn't separate the winners from the losers. It tells you that everybody understands this is important, but it doesn't allow us to distinguish the winners from the losers. So I have another question that I like to ask. Again, simple, open-ended, not a trick question. The question is this. What is your company's core competency? That is, what is it that you think you do better than anything else, better than anybody else? And when you ask that question, you don't get the same answer from everybody. Ask that question at Microsoft. What's Microsoft's core competency? They don't say anything about software. They say hiring. Hiring. They understand what the scarce resource is. They understand what the critical production factor is. I've asked 2 CEOs of General Electric that same question. Jack Welch, whom you will hear from on Tuesday, Jeff Immelt, the current CEO. I asked them separately, different occasions, years apart actually, that same question. What's the core competency of GE? They both gave the same answer. They said nothing about light bulbs or jet engines or any of the other things that GE does or makes. They said evaluating people. The core competency of GE, evaluating people. They understand what the critical production factor is, what the scarce resource is. I want to be clear that we can get through all of these things in great shape. Okay, the digital economy, our companies can adapt. Many have done it, many more are doing it. We can do that. The truly globalizing economy, yeah, we need to improve our schools, okay? It's a huge challenge, and I don't know if we have the will, but we have done it before, and we can do it again. Medicare, look, we have dealt with some enormous fiscal demands on our country, like World War II, okay? We have done it. We can do it again. I am optimistic. I'm optimistic because optimism has always been the way to bet on the U.S. economy. Pessimists have never gotten it right. At the same time, it is a new day. We have not seen this movie before. We don't know how it's going to end. What I know for certain is that how we respond to these 3 big realities, respond in our companies, in our government, in our schools, in our culture, in ourselves, is going to shape our country's future in the deepest way. It's an honor to speak with you about these things. I wish every one of you the best of luck. Thanks.
It's a huge question because, as you say, the situation we have now, with the high oil prices, kind of worrisome inflation, weak economy, weak dollar, that combination we last saw in the late 70s, early 80s, right? And so there are, as you say, a whole bunch of people who have simply never experienced those conditions in business. And frankly, those of us who are old enough to have been around in business at that time can't really remember anything anyway. And so, we all need help.
So much for experience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we all need help. What can managers do to make sure that younger people understand? A couple things. One, which is really the minor part of the answer, is formally or directly try to educate them about that. I mean, try to really show them what the business conditions were like when it was back in those times, or when other countries saw those conditions. I'm always surprised at how few companies really try to educate younger managers directly. People are supposed to sort of acquire it on their own somehow, and some do and some don't. The other thing that's really more important and far more effective, and it's too late to do it now, you had to have started a while ago, but it'll help for the future, and that is put them in a range of situations where they will encounter trouble of different kinds. What you see time and again talking to executives is that they learned the most when they were in some kind of trouble or crisis. You don't want to engineer the crisis, but you can assign people to situations where they're going to have to deal with these things, and that is tremendously